The last thing my victims see. Finally ready to start the rear coilovers. It's been an interesting morning full of distractions and interruptions. So I'm excited to get this going. First things first, when I put the jack under the rear diff, I make sure to put tire chucks in the front of the tires, and I also put the car into gear and I put the e-brake on. I always use jack stands, so for those of you who think I don't, I actually do. There they are. There's my proof. I mean, they're Harbor Freight jack stands, so do they even count as jack stands? But they're there for peace of mind and my life. With the car jacked up, I can now remove the wheels, and it's so much easier with these impact tools. I used to have to remove them manually, and that was hell. And then just when I'm about to start, this comedian pulls up. Yeah, you didn't know? It's a limited edition.
Wow, that's so cool.
Thank you.
These lots are rare, but I've never seen the Mad Max edition.
Mad Max, yeah, it's the only one in town. Only one in California.
Wow, that's so cool.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I thought that he was joking, but in hindsight, looking back at this video, he might have been serious. I'm not sure. I was joking. I thought we were both joking. But maybe he was being serious? I hope he didn't think I was rude. It wasn't my intention. Now that the bolts are buttered up with PB Blaster, I can go ahead and take them off. These are the bolts that are holding the rear strut down. So the back bolt, or the back nut, is an 18, and this front one right here is a 15. And I had a hard time getting my impact tool placed properly on either side of these guys without it being twisted, and I was really worried about stripping it. There was that sway bar that was installed prior to me owning the vehicle, which kind of got in the way. But anyways, I got the bolt off, and it just slipped right out, and I could move on to the other side, which was even more of a challenge because of this sway bar. Logic would tell you to remove the sway bar and not have a difficult time, but oftentimes logic eludes me. I should have removed the top of these struts when the car was not jacked up. Every time the car's jacked up like this, it reminds me of the Giga Horse from Fury Road. I thought that was such a badass car. That's the first thing my victims see when I open the trunk and let them out. Just kidding. So to get to those top mounts, you've got to remove all of the panels in the trunk. And it's more annoying than anything. One of the panels was already bent, so that was kind of a bummer. I managed to not lose anything and not drop anything. The bolt back here, I mean, of course, as you turn the nut, that top moves. So you gotta put a little, crescent wrench or something on it to keep it in place. I also had to spray PB Blaster on this just to kind of loosen it up a little bit, but it came off fairly easy, and the strut didn't drop out, violently or anything dramatic like that. With both strut mounting bolts removed, I'm ready to drop these puppies out, give a little pry out, and these things are filthy. I should have put gloves on before I pulled them out, but it's so rewarding pulling these dirty guys out and being able to put new ones in and throw these away. Next up, remove the brake line bracket to give a little bit more clearance. And you'll also have to remove the quad shocks. So you really don't have to remove this top mount. I just did because I was inexperienced and didn't know. So I ended up removing the bottom mount as well, and that gave it, you know, got it completely free to where I could lower the jack and, you know, release the spring. So here it goes, nice and slow, making sure those jack stands are in place. With both quad shocks removed, I'm able to get more clearance by lowering the jack a little bit more and slowly prying out these rear springs. You can reuse your rubber isolators. I had already purchased new ones because I didn't know what condition these ones would be in, and they were only like 30 bucks. So put a little electrical tape on to keep them in place for the installation, and we're ready to slip these guys in. I set them to their lowest point just to make it easier to slide the springs in, and that's kind of where my journey in setting my ride height began. I adjusted the springs so they'd be about an inch away from the lowest point because I know that I can't slam the car to the ground because of my wide tires. So before I put the rear struts in, I jack up the car so that the springs are just making contact with that upper portion. They're just barely supposed to touch it, which this video doesn't show very well, but that is the step that I took, which is listed out plain as day in these directions. And once it's barely making contact, that's when you actually install your strut. Read the directions. I don't like reading, but it was vital to the installation that I read this part. So yeah, read the directions. Don't be like me and have to adjust it like 1,000 times because you thought you knew better than that little direction sheet the manufacturer believes to be important. For the love of God, do not reference this video in any way, shape, or form on any kind of damping adjustment or preload or anything like that, please, because I did not know what I was doing when I installed these, and I did not know about preload setting or anything like that. So this video is just really the installation, and I go back several times and I adjust the preload, which I finally got perfected long after I completed this video. Lucky I'm small enough to fit inside the trunk, because reaching these from the outside wasn't good. It was a nightmare. I'm thinking like, while I'm in this trunk, I hope nobody walks by and like closes the trunk on me to like teach me a lesson or make some kind of a funny, not funny joke. It was like 90 degrees outside, so I don't think I would have lasted long. So with everything mounted up top, go ahead and tighten the bottom bolts, and we're nearing completion. I loved doing this job because I was able to work on like the left side and then go right to the right side and work it methodically versus like completely finishing up one side and then going to the next side and kind of forgetting which steps I took and exactly what I did. So just add those quad shocks back on. I should probably get new ones. These ones are ugly and who knows how effective they are after all these years. But c'est la vie. So tightening up this last bolt on the passenger side. Something so therapeutic about removing the old parts and replacing them with new. And I know this sounds crazy, but I feel like the car is happy. Like, I feel like the car is like, oh, thank you so much for taking care of me and putting these new parts on and pampering me. Me love you long time. And at this point, I'm just so excited to see what the car will look like once it's lowered. But I'm also anticipating, you know, I'm going to have to probably redo it a few times. How many times I didn't realize, but it was a journey to get these properly adjusted. I love throwing these out. The thump that it makes, oh my gosh, especially when there's no other trash in the can, it's great. Sometimes on Thursday night or Friday morning before the trash man gets here, I have to utilize my neighbor's trash cans because I have so many boxes and just packing materials from all the stuff that I get in the mail. So I've got my neighbor across the street, well, I've got a few neighbors across the street that let me use their trash cans. And then if worse comes to worse, I'll use other people's trash cans who maybe just don't realize that I'm putting cardboard in their trash can, but it doesn't matter because the trash man's gonna be there in like, you know, no time, and he's gonna take the trash away. So it's time to put these tires back on and see what what the progress is. When I load these tires on, they're really heavy, so I actually have to prop them up on my feet and lift them up with my feet to get them on. But now that I have my impact tool, life is just so much easier putting these tires back on. Looking back on the installation, it wasn't hard. It was, I mean, you know, a few stuck bolts, but nothing too bad. But it's still not dialed into where I need it to be. So I've probably removed and put the tires back on like a dozen times at this point. I got the front, like the preload's great on the front, the height is good, the ride height is good, but the backs are giving me issues. The biggest reason that the backs are giving me issues is because I have such wide tires. I've got 315s on the back. So I brought it down to an acceptable ride height, which wasn't as low as I wanted it to be, but it cleared the tires. So I take it for a test drive, I don't hear any rubbing, there's nothing going on. I get it back to my house and I look at the tires and there's like this thin strip of tire, you know, like it's like it got a little bit cut. And I can't see, it's on the part of the tire that's, you know, closest to the outside of the car, and it's just like, you know, a little bit, like someone took a razor and just shaved it. So I thought I was seeing things, so I get back in the car, I drive around town a little bit. Again, like I'm driving so slow, I'm listening. No, I can't hear anything. I've got the windows down. There's nothing going on. I get it back home, same thing. New tire shavings. So I figure, you know what, maybe my preload is off on the struts. I watched a dozen YouTube videos. I talked to people that have done this before, and you know, they're supposed to come from the factory, you know, preloaded to whatever the correct specs for your car is. Well, that didn't seem to be the case because going back to my videos, it looked like one of them was a little bit higher than the other. And then I read some reviews on forums, and it seems to be like a common issue with that particular brand of coilovers. So today, I mean, the car is all wrapped up. It looks great, but I'm still struggling with that rubbing, and obviously I can't drive around town with my expensive tires rubbing on my car. I also might attempt to roll the fenders, which I've avoided my entire life from doing because it sounds terrible, but I might have to roll the fenders to get it to the ride height that I want. So I'll be watching some YouTube videos, and I'm hoping I don't mess up my fenders by doing this. I don't think I'll mess up my fenders, but I'm hoping I don't have to redo my wrap if I roll the fenders. If anybody's got any tips on rolling fenders on a wrapped vehicle, please DM me, send it my way. Other than that, the car looks fantastic. It looks mean. It looks like demonic. It looks so cool. So let's check it out, and then, you know, I'll keep adjusting these ride height. I'm like working up some great muscle, removing these tires over and over again in the 90-degree Santa Clarita heat. Alright, cool. Thanks for watching. Bye. if you made it this far in the video, thank you, and please subscribe and come again soon. Bye!